There we go. I was muted. I had to look. So, how y'all guys doing? It should be a little while before people start to trickle in. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Um, Before we get into it, let's run down some of the things we're going to be doing here. All of my my itinerary is almost always a prospectus, what I expect to be doing on these shows, and I don't always get around to it. But if you look in the description, the topics are thus: the reported loss of Mandy Rose and Sasha Banks, Tony Khan being criticized for partying with the boys, Bryan Danielson on why he did not like Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock, and are casual fans hurting the business, a no DQ article. So this ought to be a tremendous fun episode. It's going to be mostly driven by you guys. I've said everything I needed to say essentially on the Mandy Rose question. So now basically that part of the show will be about you guys. Listening to what you guys think. Will there be a smart tears on Mandy Rose? Some people have asked me already. I considered it, and I still may do it. I may do it over the weekend after giving it some time. Triple H being unhappy with some wrestlers that he recently rehired. I haven't seen an article about that, but I heard about that article. Let's take a look at who the source is for this before I add it to the itinerary. Let's take a look at who the source is. I can't find the source. So, is it Ringside News? Yeah, it's Ringside News. I don't know, man. I don't really like Ringside News, but this is a good topic. So yeah, we'll add this one to the list because this is definitely something worth talking about. This is definitely worth. See, I could do a whole video just on this alone, but we will add this. Thank you to Alto Johnson for catching me early in the live stream and not just tacking the shit on at 30 minutes in. Matthew Thicklin, I appreciate it. This is popping in for a bit. Get up early for work. Got to finish the stream tomorrow. I appreciate that. All right. Yeah, so what do you guys... Let's get into the Mandy Rose discussion because there's been a lot of chitter chatter about the Mandy Rose since it happened. I'm not going to read any articles, but there's been a lot of stuff floating around. One of which was that Mandy was asked to take that stuff down and she didn't. Another one was that she actually requested her release months ago or weeks ago, and they're just now really giving it to her. There's another one about Matt Bloom, and Matt Bloom being the guy who kind of told Shawn Michaels about it, and that was interesting. That was an interesting one, actually, because that came from Dave Meltzer, and it was this Dave Meltzer concept of they didn't have a choice but to fire Mandy Rose. It's like, look, who the hell knows what the issue is. Again, people get tripped up over these details. All of this, almost none of this stuff is going to be ever be confirmed. Almost none of this stuff is ever going to be confirmed. We don't know who found out and when, or how much is to be known. So it's almost impossible to know. So we're definitely going to be talking about this thing. And I'm trying to find the original article. See, this is the problem with me. I have too much on my plate, and I forget things. Because I'm certainly now looking for the original article when it comes to Shawn and Matt Bloom. What up, everybody? How is everybody doing? All right, okay, so here it is. Well, this is from Meltzer and about the OnlyFans and everything. I'm trying to find the whole thing that featured Matt Bloom and Shawn Michaels. That's what I'm going to look for. Until we get there, supposedly Raj Giri was correct about Sasha Banks. So that was interesting. Sasha Banks is apparently really is gone from WWE and will be free on the 1st. But we will be looking at that too. We're gonna be talking about that a little bit, and just to kind of squeeze in this little thing here is that, you know, these are these major losses for the women's division, Sasha Banks and Mandy Rose, and the answer to that is yes. But turnover is actually good. You know, that's one thing that WWE kind of they thrive on turnover. Sometimes people have to leave so other people can shine. You know, Sasha Banks has been in WWE since 2012. She's got a 10-year run in WWE. She wasn't going to get any bigger than she is already. Her leaving opens up an opportunity for all of the girls in the PC, all the girls in NXT, all the girls on Raw and SmackDown, and you have to understand how big that is. Like, when you have somebody like a Becky Lynch or a Sasha Banks on the roster, and they get pushed so heavily and so much, everybody else is kind of just waiting in the wings. And basically, at some point, they're waiting for somebody to get injured. That's the only way you're going to be able to get a chance. If somebody gets pregnant, somebody gets injured, or whatever, they're going to get the bulk of the TV time. They're going to get the bulk of the marketing budget. They're going to get the bulk of everything. You know, like Bret Hart can never have been world champion if Hulk Hogan was still on the roster. Hell, if Warrior had stuck around, Bret Hart probably never would have been world champion. You know, sometimes you have to clear these guys out. You know, Stone Cold Steve Austin was able to really break through because a lot of those guys were gone. Shawn and Bret were gone. You know, a lot of those, the Undertaker had, you know, he wasn't quite the carry the company kind of guy. But you had to get those guys out of there. You had to get Rock and Austin out in order to get John Cena and Batista and those guys. You got to get Cena out before you can really flesh out Roman Reigns. You know, that's kind of, it becomes a necessity. You have to get these people out. And sometimes people like Mandy or people like Sasha, who've been, you know, pushed a lot. Mandy only really recently been pushed a lot. She's been on the roster for a long time, but she's kind of been on one of the ancillary positions. She got lucky by, you know, getting put back down to NXT, where the star power is a little less, and she was able to slip in and utilize her assets, let's put it like that, in order to get a bigger spot for herself. But you have to ask the question, at what point do we need to start cutting bait with people? You know? And that's why I labeled this stream WWE Divas 2.0. It's because it does come across like the Divas era to me. You know, all these very pretty, high maintenance girls who, you know, think that they're too good to be wrestling. They would rather be doing other things. At least there was some appreciation. I think a greater appreciation. Back when women weren't wrestlers, I think there was a greater appreciation for what they did in the business and how gracious some of the people were. Because there were times where people were not so gracious. You know, there's a lot of those diva search chicks and all that kind of stuff who were bullied and picked on. And the ones who weren't, the ones who, you know, worked hard and they were given respect, they seem to look back on things a lot more fondly. And there's a lot of those diva search girls who didn't like their experience. And, you know, a lot of people just kind of felt like, oh yeah, you know, the wrestling thing where guys shit in your bag or they bullied you or whatever. And that makes sense. But at the same time, you have to look at it from the perspective of people were not respecting those women because the women didn't add anything to the show. Now, women add something to the show, but they all have the Wendy Richter syndrome. Well, specifically, Sasha Banks has the Wendy Richter syndrome, which now she thinks she's fucking Hulk Hogan. You know, Chyna had it too, where just because you're over and you're the number one girl, all of a sudden you're equal to the number one guy. It's nonsense. You can look at each generation has had this problem. You know, Wendy Richter thought she was Hulk Hogan and she should get paid like Hulk Hogan. She wasn't, and she didn't. And then, you know, it became an issue with Vince, and then she had to go. Later, Chyna was making a lot of money, probably the highest paid female performer of her time. Then, you know, she wants more money. She wants to get paid like Rock and Austin without drawing like Rock and Austin. And there's a financial situation and she has to go. Now Sasha Banks is doing the exact same thing. I want the same amount of TV time. I want the same amount of money as Roman Reigns, without drawing like Roman Reigns, without being as interesting as Roman Reigns, without being as marketable as Roman Reigns. So the financial situation is what it is, and she had to leave. Now let's talk about Sasha first, because I really don't see the whole thing with Mandy being too long. I've already, again, that's going to be y'all's part of the show, because I really don't have anything more to add on the subject of Mandy Rose. I think I said everything that needs to be said. Well, from my perspective, of course, the floor is always open for you guys to jump in and say what you need to say. But this is from Fightful, so 11 minutes in, I'm finally getting to the first article. So 11 minutes in, we're gonna get to the first article, which is Fightful's report on Sasha Banks and my subsequent apology to Raj Giri. So it says Sasha Banks, aka Mercedes Varnado, has been the subject of much speculation. However, we finally gained some clarity on some details. It was confirmed to Fightful that Mercedes' WWE exit was negotiated quote-unquote months ago, like Raj Giri of Wrestling Inc. reported as such. However, WWE has yet to officially confirm this, and she remains listed on the company's official website. That's a question mark right there. It should be, anyway. It was also reiterated to us that Sasha Banks was able to take wrestling-related bookings on January the 1st, something that Fightful Select reported this past fall. When we were asked if that was contractual, we were told that it was, and that we were informed that WrestleCade was far from the only wrestling-related operation to make attempts to book her, and the big event being another convention that those close to her claimed was interested. We've also heard that some conventions even tossed around the idea of rebranding themselves as entertainment conventions to get around the technicality of being a pro wrestling convention, in hopes of booking her before January the 1st. Ultimately, that didn't happen. Beyond that, we were also informed that the New Japan Pro Wrestling deal is a go, and was agreed upon as far back as the last week of November. Those that we've spoken to familiar with that deal said that they haven't heard of anything regarding All Elite Wrestling and Mercedes yet, but also stated that doesn't mean it isn't happening. So there's a bunch of nothing in here. There's a bunch of nothing in here. A bunch of conventions wanted to book her, but they couldn't for whatever reason. Okay, let's assume, as we always do with this channel, we always assume that the dirt sheets are lying, but we converse as if the things is true. You know, that's how we do this. So if Sasha Banks is officially gone from WWE, I say great. We got rid of the stands. Sasha Banks herself is a talented performer. She's really good at, dramatics, and, her promo skills and stuff like that have degraded over the years. When she got arrogant, like the last 2 or 3 years, Sasha got really arrogant. And I think that her promo skills diminished quite a bit. She stopped being humble. She started being very over the top. And it showed in her character. I think she started to live the gimmick, which was one of her things when she had to go on one of her many hiati. She had to go on a hiatus before. She felt like, I was never seeing my real hair. I wasn't hearing my real name, yada, yada, yada. It's like, well, now she's almost Sasha Banks all the time. She's been fully engulfed in Sasha Banks. And it's almost as Sasha Banks is going to take the name Mercedes now. And it is what it is. There's always a positive to, the wrestler having a great deal of inputs in their character or whatever the case may be. But how much? Which is sort of the question. In any event, the idea that, she had this sort of 6-month non-compete. Okay, that was interesting, but here's the thing. New Japan doesn't really sign women. I think Bushiroad, they own Stardom too. So she would be signed to Bushiroad or signed to Stardom unless she's going to just do these appearances. I know that the New Japan show is what we're talking about here, but is she going to be doing subsequent shows? Is it just going to be her popping up on the screen, setting up a match for like New Year's Dash or something like that, which it seemed like it might be in the future. In any event, I'm not all beat up about Sasha Banks leaving. I honestly don't care, bros. I know you guys probably are big fans. I'm a big fan too. I like her matches, but like I said, the last 2 or 3 years she has really degraded. She's really gotten on my nerves, and I would rather she leave and go spread her wings elsewhere than to be miserable in WWE or to make other people miserable. And I think she hasn't done anything in the last 2 years on screen that I can think of that was revolutionary outside of main event in WrestleMania, which was a position she basically begged Vince to put her in, not one that they actually earned because their story was trash. The story between Bianca and Sasha was absolute garbage. Now, you could blame the booking for that, which, you know, I do, but the match itself was very good. But the booking of it was absolute garbo. You know, everything that involved around Sasha's return when she beat Bayley was garbo. You know, a lot of that stuff was garbage. And it's just like the passion wasn't there anymore. She was burned out. She needed to go. It makes sense. I'm glad she's gone. So, let's go through to you guys. See what you guys think about Sasha Banks. Let's start at the bottom. Top Dog. My problem with her fans is that they act like Sasha is on the Rock and John Cena level when she's not. Well, yeah. The issue here has always been Sasha Banks believing that she is the top female wrestler in the world and not really recognizing that kind of at no point was she that in that position. It was always Sasha behind Charlotte or Sasha behind Becky or Sasha behind Ronda. You know, she's gotten up to being a solid number 2, you know, occasionally crossing over into being number 1. But when Becky Lynch got over, Becky Lynch just skyrocketed past Sasha. You know, and it was without question she skyrocketed past Sasha. You know, when you talk about Charlotte, for instance, Charlotte, I don't think is as marketable as Sasha Banks. You know, WWE tries very hard with Charlotte. But I think Charlotte has a really high level of respect, especially from her peers and other female wrestlers. Like when you have somebody like Mickie James, who's been in the business for 20 years, who says like, I got to get that match with Charlotte. It's like, wow. You know, like there are so many people who just want to get in there with Charlotte. Trish Stratus, you know, got in shape to wrestle Charlotte. And you see how much effort people put in because they want to wrestle Charlotte. You know, the same thing with Becky Lynch and Lita. Like when Becky Lynch muscled her way into a WrestleMania main event that was in no way going to... She was not slated to even be anywhere near it. But she got so over that it couldn't be denied. So we're in a position where Sasha was never that one. She was always one of the ones. She was the top of the ones, but she was one of the ones. You know, it wouldn't be unfair to say that she was the female Randy Savage, I think. You know, I think in 10, 15 years, everyone's going to love Sasha Banks' work because she's very good. But you're going to realize that, you know, for all the big pops that she got, she never moved tickets. She never sold merchandise while the other chicks did. Now, I don't think Charlotte ever sold any merchandise. I probably would put Sasha Banks over Charlotte in selling merchandise. But when you talk about respect, talking about getting heat, you know, being able to deliver, Charlotte every time. Charlotte has degraded a lot too within the last couple of years. She's become a lot more stilted than she was before. But, you know, if I'm being fair, all of them are getting old. You know, all the 4 horsewomen are kind of getting old out there. Bayley just kind of hit her stride just a year or 2 ago. But they're all kind of getting up there in age. You know, I know Sasha's the youngest of them. I think she's only like 30 or 31 or something. I'm not talking about she's an old maid. I'm just saying that she's different than when she started. She's so different that it's noticeable. You know, but 10 years in one company would do that. I would think, and from what it sounded like, the negotiated release was in June. So was that before Triple H took over? Was that, you know, How did that go? Because I'm pretty sure if it was before Triple H took over, then the moment he did, he probably called her on the phone and said, "Hey, look, whatever you talked about with the old man, let's try it again." But if it was after, then it would make sense why she was, has been doing her own thing. But I think that's one of those things we should actually put over in the discussion is when would this release actually occur? Was it in the middle of June when Vince was there, or was it when Vince was out? When did this negotiation actually occur? Some people are saying it's June because that's what Raj Giri said, but it could have been a month or two later. It could have been a month or two earlier. Who knows? All right. Bishop Marley says, I agree. She's the top chick to work with. Yeah. And I think that's a great role. And I think too many people look at that and look at it as a negative. It's not. If you're a good dance partner for a top talent, then you are a top talent too. And just because you're not Hulk Hogan doesn't mean being the Macho Man is bad. Doesn't mean being Jake the Snake Roberts or Roddy Piper or anybody else is bad. People love those guys. People have great memories of Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper was never the face of the company. He added a lot to the company, but he was never the face of it. Hogan was the face. Hogan was the guy. Now could Sasha Banks have been, the top? I don't know. Like looking at how she reacted to to everything, I think the pressure would have gotten to her. I think that pressure would have been a little too much. But I like Sasha Banks. I really do. I think it sucks that she's gone, but sometimes you have to add by subtraction. And I think if you get rid of Sasha Banks, she's done everything she can do. She's still very young. Let her go out there and, get some more experience or whatever, and maybe she'll come back even better. Maybe she won't come back at all. Who knows? But we'll see. Top Dog says, imagine main eventing Sasha over Roman, Cena, and The Rock. Like, no, thank you. Yeah, she just had this belief in herself, which is nothing wrong with it, but it's delusional. That's always been, that was, for me, that's the single most frustrating thing when it comes to a pro wrestler, whether it's a male or a female. It's somebody who is absolutely delusional. CM Punk, who was delusional to think that, oh, I did a one promo, all of a sudden I should be main eventing over John Cena. It's like, fuck you. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, no, you're delusional, bro. Just because you got over a little bit doesn't mean you're more over than Cena. He's fucking John Cena. He might as well be the logo at this point. No, it's just ridiculous. People not putting things in their proper perspective. I don't mean just, don't have any confidence, don't have any belief in yourself. I'm not saying that. I'm saying is put it in its proper perspective. Its proper perspective is, I'm one of the guys. I'm one of the top guys. I'm moving merchandise. They should appreciate me more. Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody should be looking to get appreciated more. But when you start, and Sasha Banks started making these comments publicly, about how she had that envy of Ronda Rousey, how she had this, she should have the same amount of TV time as Roman Reigns, and all this kind of stuff. I can see Roman or whoever, he probably didn't care, but I would imagine if I was Roman Reigns and I saw her say some shit like that, I'd have been like, who is you and what you do? Like she was talking about with Ronda. I'd have been like, who is you and what did you do? Your best match was in NXT. You're not here yet. You've had some good matches, but you're not there yet. And part of that is because she's female and they were helping to build that division. So I'm going to give her some credit for that. Roman had the benefit of wrestling legends like Triple H and Undertaker and those kind of guys, while the Four Horsemen, they didn't have that. There wasn't that much of Lita and Trish Stratus and all of them coming back to work with them. I will give them that pass and say they worked probably harder to get where they were than Roman did. I will absolutely give them credit for that. But the fact of the matter is, Roman as the top dog has drawn more interest and more ratings than Sasha Banks ever have and ever will be. And it's kind of ridiculous to think that she should get the same amount of TV time just because the stands on Twitter think so. But now we're going to get to the real meat of the matter. We're about to see if Sasha Banks can really draw. How much is it really going to change business for New Japan or Stardom or whatever to have Sasha Banks on the card? Let's say she jumps ship to AEW. Do people look at that picture of Sasha Banks, or what is it, Mercedes Moné or whatever, and look at that and say, oh, I'm going to watch this show now that she's on it? It's like, well, there's going to be a lot of people who, let's look at the CM Punk thing, because CM Punk was the biggest signing they could possibly do. Sasha would be a big signing for sure, but she's got no dance partners. Once she wrestles Britt Baker, what do you got then? She's gonna wrestle Ruby Soho. She's gonna wrestle Ty Conti. She's gonna wrestle Jade Cargill. I mean, I guess. Then after that, then what? Tony Storm. She's gonna wrestle Paige. I mean, who cares really? But ultimately, if she doesn't move units for AEW, which let's assume she gets the money that she wants from AEW, she gets the spot that she wants. If she doesn't move units, then we can just say, once again, like before, it's the WWE marketing machine that does the marketing. It's not the talent themselves. We've seen it 100 times. Guys up and leave. Business pops a little bit for a short amount of time, and then it tapers off over time. So Sasha Banks, let's say she leaves WWE and all of this is true. She goes to Japan. She's going to pop a rating. But the moment she becomes a regular on television, it's over. People are going to be like, I'll wait to see what she does next week. I'll wait to see who her opponent is. And then over time, things will you'll start seeing chinks in the armor. And before long, it'll go from extreme interest to kind of interested to, I would have been interested more in this 6 months ago, to this should have stayed a fantasy. Which is kind of how some of the stuff with CM Punk did. Some of the stuff was really good. But some of that other stuff was kind of like, sometimes a dream match should stay a dream match. Undertaker and Goldberg, for instance. I like the idea of saying, what if? What if Undertaker wrestled Sting? Because I already know if Undertaker really did wrestle Sting, somebody would have got hurt. So, Bishop Marley says, Charlotte has always been better than Sasha. That can't be argued. Becky passed her too. I don't know if Charlotte is better. Okay? But I think that she definitely got more of the marketing machine. People definitely got more behind her in terms of she has a pure alignment. Like Charlotte works as a heel, and as a Triple H level heel for the women's division, where she's so naturally athletic, but also the child of nepotism, that everybody thinks that everything Charlotte ever gets is because her last name is Flair. And therefore, it's easy heat. And she don't have to work that hard. She don't have to work that hard because the heat's easy. She's just really good at it though. But it's been a while since Charlotte has had to actually put in some effort. And I've heard that, she's been thinking about her return and doing something different. I just think that she probably should do something different, Maybe she ought to go away from the robes and go to a different direction. I know she says one thing she's not doing is cutting her hair. I think that may be the one thing she probably should do. Ali Hankerson says Sasha is slowly descending into Punk levels of ego sensitive. Well, I think that she's already gotten there. I think she got to that point 4 years ago with the whole Ronda Rousey stuff. I think she reached a certain level where she just kind of felt like Sasha, Ronda was getting too much. Ronda didn't have to work house shows at the time. And she wasn't putting in the effort. And I get it. It's almost exactly the same, isn't it? When CM Punk bitched about The Rock main event in WrestleMania, and then The Rock had to go and chastise him on Twitter. It was almost the exact same thing with Ronda Rousey and Sasha Banks, right? Ronda Rousey came in and was going to main event WrestleMania her first year in. And I know that burned Sasha alive. I know it did. There were so many girls who were just absolutely on fire about that. But you can't change what it is. Ronda Rousey is a bigger star. You know, as far as mainstream, she's a bigger star. That's what matters in WWE. For all the time that Sasha Banks was the bigger star, she should understand that. But she didn't. You know, she just wanted to be, well, pay me at least. And people were like, okay, they upped her pay, but then it wasn't enough. You know, it wasn't enough. Now she wants, you know, creative control, and she wants all of this stuff and all of that stuff. And it's like, okay, look, you're doing great, but at some point reality has to hit. There's only so much money you can spend on a Sasha Banks, knowing that she's done everything that she could possibly do. And of course, you know, Meltzer and all these guys who are telling you that people were leaving in the middle of Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks, they'll probably never mention that shit again. And how many of you people really remember that? That, you know, that was the story at the end of WrestleMania Night 1. What was that, 37? 38? 37, Night 1. Oh, there were people leaving in the middle of Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Now Sasha Banks is the biggest star in the business, and she's going to move units. You know, same people. No, we'll see. WG Phil says he's glad that Sasha is gone. She got outshined by Bianca. I think Bianca is a pure babyface, and having a pure alignment actually works. Now, that doesn't mean that Bianca can't work heel. I think that, you know, with some tweaks here and there, the EST can work as a heel character, as we've seen in NXT. But I think that her having a more pure alignment helps. Like, if you come across as a very natural babyface or a very natural heel, that makes you a little bit more valuable, you know, as opposed to a person playing a role. Like I said with Charlotte. Charlotte came across as a natural heel. That's why most of her career she's been a heel. You know, it's hard to get people to like Charlotte. You know, people just naturally don't like her, you know. And it comes partly from the way she carries herself, you know, from her performances and everything. So Sasha Banks being able to do both, jump back and forth between babyface and heel, you know, if she'd have leaned more into the Sasha Banks ego trip, you know, I think people would have just gotten to the whole she's a natural heel. But that's a part of the diva stand thing, you know. When you got these divas, people see that their negatives as positives. The cattiness, you know, like her going after Ronda. Under normal circumstances, people would be like, why are you doing that? You know, it's kind of foolish for you to do that. But when you're dealing with stands, oh, it's go get him, girl. And you're like, wait a minute. She's degrading Ronda Rousey in a way. Probably not the smartest thing to do. You know, you're not ingratiating yourself to Ronda, you know, who is the top girl, who you're probably going to need to work with at some point, and then throwing a temper tantrum because you're going to have to work with Ronda and then quitting the company. Like, what kind of role model or veteran for the locker room is that too? You got to think about that too. Imagine you're like Aaliyah or something, and you're itching to get on the roster. You're itching to get an opportunity, and Sasha Banks is like, I have to do a job for Ronda Rousey? Me? And you're like, I can't even get on fucking TV. And Sasha Banks is bitching about having to do a job to a star that's bigger than her. That's crazy to me. But that's just me, you know, looking at things relative from relative terms. You know, it's not necessarily a one-to-one, because if you're Aaliyah, you are lucky to be on the fucking roster. Vegeta Lover 92 says Sasha Banks' ego is bigger than Bret Hart's. Oof. Well, she's pretty close. Lorenzo Granger says, in my opinion, Sasha Banks is talented, charismatic superstar. Problem, she got a lot of flaws and she got a big ego. Respect to her as a WWE superstar. I agree with that. You know, I do think she is charismatic. I think that she's very good. And the fact of the matter is, she's been told she's very good for 10 years. And she needs to be put in a situation where she's probably not the best. And going out and being the big fish in the small pond, she's not going to get that challenge. And that's always been the death knell for a wrestler who goes outside of WWE, is they keep looking for new challenges or whatever. And those new challenges almost always inevitably mean you working with people nobody cares about, in matches nobody cares about, in angles nobody cares about, and you end up degrading yourself. Look at Bryan Danielson. I mean, guy literally walked from WWE and after a main event match against Roman Reigns and walked into AEW in a huge match with Kenny Omega, which they did immediately. They did it immediately. And it was all downhill from there. All downhill from there. All right. And because they blew their load, they had no plan. The plan was to just make Bryan Danielson one of the guys. You know, he's going to work against this guy and that guy. He's going to have good matches. And ultimately, people don't care about good matches. People care about good angles. People care about good stories. And if Sasha Banks develops work rate brain, it's going to be over with. She's really going to end up putting a bullet through her own career. But, you know, we'll see. Ali Hankerson says the very first botch, and she's going to have a field day with the females locker room in New Japan. Who knows? There is no female locker room in New Japan, so it'll be like the Stardom locker room. Bishop Marley really wants to see Mercedes in AEW. I'm fine with her wrestling in New Japan for a one-of thing or whatever, but if she ain't in the E, she needs to hang it up. Well, the problem with it is she became very famous in WWE and has never been famous anywhere else. So now, you know, we're going to find out whether it's presentation or talent. You know, is it that WWE did a great job of presenting her, or is it she's a legitimate talent and with a legitimate ability, and everything's going to work out great? We will come around and find out. And you know what? That makes it very interesting to me. You know, Ali Hankerson says, I don't see her doing anything significant in New Japan other than having solid matches. Would have been much better in AEW as a rival to Jade Cargill. Yeah, but once you have the match, then what? You know, what are they going to talk about? You being a baddie? I'm the baddie. I'm the best. I'm the boss. I'm the star. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. It's going to be two of the same characters, similar characters anyway, cutting the same promo, and then who wins? That's going to be the question. Who wins? Did you have Mercedes jump off the couch, walk into AEW, and beat Jade Cargill almost immediately? Shitting on Jade Cargill because this is her home turf. Or did you have Jade Cargill beat Mercedes and then treat Mercedes just like fucking Athena or Ruby Soho or whoever else has jumped from WWE or NXT to AEW, and then she has to find some way of crawling herself back up? That's a good question. So there that goes. Vegeta Lover says Sasha is better in the ring than 90% of women. Name 15 better in history. I would have to know 15 women's wrestlers' names off the top of my head. I can tell you I can't do that. So yeah, I don't buy that one. I can't fight that one. Stone Mexican guy. If she tries to do the boss gimmick, do you think she would be slapped with a cease and desist? I think that she can take elements of the character. I don't think she can take the actual name, of course. WG Phil says, I doubt the Stardom would let her have ego trips, but in AEW, she's walking over everybody. Yeah. She becomes the biggest. She becomes what she wants to be, just like Chris Jericho in a way, just like CM Punk. You know, she becomes what she wants to be in AEW. And the problem is that's probably going to bring out the worst in her. Sometimes giving people what they want is the worst thing for them. And you never, ever hear that from people. I've talked to so many people. Again, I worked with people who have mental problems. One of the worst things that you can give to people is to give them what they want all the time. You know, if you give people what they want, one, you're feeding their narcissism. Two, you're feeding their addictive personality. You're feeding their egos. You're feeding their pride. You are creating negativity. People think that, you know, neglect is, you know, not giving people what they want. But sometimes neglect is the other way too. For instance, sometimes people are being neglectful of their animals, like their pets, if they overfeed them. Like you overfeed your dogs or you overfeed your cats or whatever, that's actually a negative. That's abuse in some ways, you know? If you overfeed grandma or something like that, and she ends up having like heart problems or she gains too much weight, that could be a problem. So when you have people who their issue is their ego, or they're narcissists or whatever, the worst thing that you could do for them is to feed into it, because it does nothing but perpetuate what they already believe. You know, it just perpetuates what they already believe. And then they feel justified in some of the negativity that they have. Look at what's happened with CM Punk. The entirety of AEW became about justifying CM Punk 2011. He was right. He was the guy. He should have been the top of the business. He's the best in the ring, the best on the mic, blah, 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 blah. In a year, it flamed out. Why? For the exact same reason it flamed out in WWE. Because you fed the ego of a narcissist. And it didn't work. Okay? Feeding CM Punk's ego didn't work. Because CM Punk works best as a guy with a chip on his shoulder. With a guy with something to prove. That's when he was at his best. Once he got there, he couldn't adjust. Alright? I think Sasha Banks is probably going to be the same thing. Mercedes or whatever the fuck we're calling her now. She gets in AEW. She starts getting everything she wants. Pay-per-view main events. Big paychecks. Yada, yada, yada. She's going to be fucking miserable. Like, I can almost guarantee it. Because then there's going to be no challenges. It's going to be, she's going to get up, go out there, get more TV time than everybody, cut her promos, do whatever she wants, and it's going to get boring. And then other people are going to be jealous. The Britt Bakers, the Jade Cargills, all the other girls are going to be are going to be upset because for the same... See, here's the thing about the whole Ronda Rousey stuff. If she goes to Stardom, they're a little bit more humble. You know, Japan's a different country. But in the United States, there's going to be plenty of girls in the locker room who are going to be looking at her the exact same way she was looking at Ronda Rousey. And say, you think you just come into my locker room where I built this? I mean, Britt Baker literally just did this to Paige. I'm talking Saraya. You think you could just come in here from WWE, talk bandy about how about you're a big star, and guess what happened? Cut the legs right from underneath her. Ruin Saraya's big comeback. I can see it happening to Sasha Banks too. It's going to happen to everybody. As long as somebody is taking that step back to go somewhere where they can be a huge star with no competition, this is what's going to happen. Sometimes the worst thing you can do for somebody is feed their ego. And I think that's why part of what's going on with the stand accounts has been so negative for me. Is people don't understand that you're not doing Sasha Banks any good. You know, by telling her how great she is and how she's going to run Hollywood and all this kind of stuff. It's like, how about she getting some movies people actually want to watch first? You know? Like, how about landing a big film and something people actually might want to see before we start saying, you know, hey, she's going to be a big star. Like, she was an extra in The Mandalorian. Okay, great. You know, her name was on it. Sure. Was her face on the posters or anything like that? I don't know. I don't really like Star Wars, so I don't know. Alto Johnson says Sasha does not like Bryan Danielson. I don't know that. I don't know that to be true. What is this about Negro women? Steven Smith said, I remember that day that they coined this as the first two Negro women. I don't think anybody ever used that word. Michael Cole said black women. Yeah, Top Dog, that's exactly what I'm talking about. CM Punk thought he should have been in the main event of WrestleMania 28 over Rock and Cena. He's ridiculous. He's delusional. You know? Like, legit. That's legitimately a delusional thing. I couldn't imagine not being humble enough to recognize that The Rock is in the main event. Even if... And CM Punk tried to cool it off by saying, make it a triple threat match, eliminate me first, just so I can say I was there. He wouldn't have been happy with that. That'd have made him even more miserable. Because it'd have been like, they put me in the fucking match. I wouldn't have rather not be in it than to be in it for 2 minutes. I guarantee you that's what his reaction would have been. You know, he has to pretend to be humble just to say he can get what he wanted. He would not have been happy at all if it had been a triple threat match, but he got to take the pinfall. He'd have been shitty about it. He'd have been pissed about it because he didn't. He was pissy anyway. Oh my goodness. TN Pyro says, crazy how Cody came into WWE and nobody on the men's roster had a problem. Well, that's because the men are typically a little bit. The men today don't have the ego. Seth Rollins had a bit of a problem with it. You know, he talked about it, I think, in his Ariel Helwani thing, that he didn't really appreciate being the welcome mat to Cody Rhodes. But nobody else seemed to have a problem for that. You know, who else was going to bitch about it? You know, the only other person who probably could have complained would have been Kevin Owens, and he was in the main event against Stone Cold Steve Austin, and he's Cody's friend. So, and plus, you know, Cody has such history in WWE already, so it's completely different. You know, he was there 10 years before he left. Lorenzo Granger says, if Sasha go to AEW, she's going to work with Jade Cargill, Britt Baker. Yes, it's going to be a good match. But what's the next chapter after that? Well, AEW seems to have two levels. The Britt Baker lane and the Jade Cargill lane. And those two lanes never cross. So, like, they don't have, I think, mutual opponents either. Like, when Athena wrestled Jade Cargill and lost, she didn't, like, go wrestle Thunder Rosa or anybody in the Britt Baker camp of opponents. She immediately fell off the face of the earth and now is in, like, Ring of Honor. And I think Sheeta might be, like, the only mutual opponent that they have. Maybe. And maybe Jamie Hayter, maybe. But, mutual storyline. So, they would definitely put her in the world title picture, which would put her in there with Jamie Hayter and all of them. But then after that, what? Most of those girls are not over. They're not big stars. They're not big personalities either. You know? And Sasha likes to take scary bumps too. Like, I never talked about that before, but she loves taking scary bumps. And she's going to get what she asked for when it comes to Stardom. Because one thing they like to do is throw hands. They will definitely chop and kick the shit out of her. She's probably not going to like it too much. But she'll get used to it. WG feel what be her first behind the scenes feud will be. Britt, Thunder Rosa, or Jade. In Stardom, they'll shoot on her in the ring and blacklist her. I don't think so. I think she's going to be very respectful in Stardom. It's going to be when she comes back to the United States that's going to be an issue. I could just see it in the future. You know, she's going to be very respectful in Japan, and because she's probably going to want to fit in with that culture. And it's a very honorable culture of female pro wrestling that she respects. But when she comes to the United States, where she is, you know, the boss, the star, the standard, and all that, she's the blueprint, it's going to be a problem. Guarantee it. Alto Johnson says, acceptable in the ring and under the mic, but her goddamn ego needs to be shut down immediately. I hate her attitude. Well, yeah. She's got a shitty attitude. What is this idea that Sasha Banks does not like Bryan Danielson? Where did that come from? Before we move on to Mandy Rose, where did that come from, please? D-Mac says, as far as Sasha goes, what has been confirmed about her status? Well, the only thing that is confirmed is that she will be in some capacity at Wrestle Kingdom on the 4th of January. That's the only thing we have confirmed. And I believe that was actually that wasn't even confirmed, because I think that was a rumor. I don't think New Japan actually confirmed it. But the idea that Fightful has confirmed, or at least trying to confirm, the Raj Giri comment that she was released back in June. She had some kind of conditional release for maybe a 6-month no compete or whatever in order to get out of her contract. That's the suggestion that's been floating around out there. How true it is, we don't know for sure. So we'll see. Also, Johnson said there are no egos in the men's division because they are too complacent and careless. That's why the women walk all over them. I do think that there's egos in the men's division, but most of them just know how to shut the fuck up. You know, there's no, I think Seth Rollins is probably the only one that is openly talking about, his problems. Everybody else is kind of like just happy to be there, or they're playing along. But then ultimately, they probably will talk about it when they leave, about what their problem is. Kevin Abreu makes a good point. Kiera Hogan works in AEW. Here's the thing: Kiera Hogan is completely and totally replaceable. If Sasha Banks has any heat with Kiera Hogan, that's not gonna work out. I know they have old school heat, but Kiera Hogan is completely not even a factor. If you're Tony Khan and you got Mercedes on the phone and she says, "Yeah, that Kiera Hogan chick said I stole her gimmick, I stole her look, I steal a lot from her. I don't want to work with her. I don't want her around." You call fucking Kiera. You send Kiera a text message during the conversation, like your services will no longer be required. You don't even overthink it, which is in some ways fucked up, but also kind of the right thing to do. Oh, wait a minute. What's this now? Let's see. Jade is going to drop the TNT belt and claim the top prize eventually. It's only a matter of time. Well, that's considering everybody. Jonathan, I saw Jonathan Gresham on Impact. That's crazy. I didn't know he was signed though, because he was on Impact before. He was on Impact. I don't know. Months ago when he was doing the Honor No More thing, he was on there, but I don't remember too much about that. Supposedly Sasha took a jab at Bryan Danielson on talking smack. Let's take a look at this, because I never heard her say anything bad about him. Let's see. Let's put in Daniel Bryan. Let's see. I don't see anything. I don't see anything about this. I see a lot of stuff, but nothing about Bryan Danielson and Sasha Banks having any issues. So I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't know what you're talking about. All right, let's move on. All right, 53 minutes in. I talked about Sasha for 40 minutes. That's crazy. 53, 20. Well, then a lot of that stuff is you guys too. So, all right, let's move over to Mandy Rose. Let's move over to Mandy so that we can really get to, again, not too much of the details, because we have no idea. Sports keto. Okay, well, so for starters, there's people saying that she was caught off guard by the firing. This is from bodyslam.net. According to Bryan Alvarez behind his Twitter paywall, he noted that Mandy Rose was very much caught off guard by the firing. She was not alone, because her Toxic Attraction stablemates Gigi Dolan and JT Jane are also heartbroken. They put out heart emojis. That's really all it was. They put out heart emojis, and apparently they were heartbroken. Aw, poor babies. So that's interesting. She was taken by surprise. I don't know why I would be surprised. Why would it be a surprise if you knew what you were doing? All right, but here is Meltzer and Alvarez about WWE having no choice but to fire Mandy Rose. Let's see. This is from Inside the Ropes. WWE felt they had no choice but to release Mandy Rose. Rose's release came after WWE became aware of the content she was posting on her fan time page, which they felt was outside the parameters of her WWE deal. The issue was seemingly less with the fact that she had the subscription service and more to do with the content she was posting. Her exit comes just days after a series of images and videos from the service were posted online. Speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer added some more context to the situation. Mandy was always planned to lose the NXT Championship to Roxanne Perez, but the switch was moved up after Shawn Michaels was made aware of the content on her subscription service. All right, this is Meltzer. They switched the whole show around because what happened was, there was a meeting and Matt Bloom brought to Shawn Michaels, told him what some of the stuff that she's been putting on her subscription service is. She's had the subscription service and it got popular and lucrative, and she went further and further. And the feeling was that she went way, crossed the line. And they believed that they had absolutely no choice but to get rid of her. So, there it is from Meltzer's mouth. What do you guys think about that? What a joke. What a joke this is. That, for starters, she was taken off guard by this, but then there's other people who say that she knew it was coming because they asked her to take it down before. When she left, they said that the site is still up. So apparently she was aware of what they wanted, and she still didn't do it. There's some more stuff to this. It says the backstage belief is that Mandy could go to AEW if they let her continue with the site. Her non-compete gives them a cushion to renegotiate. Rumble return still considered plausible. I think she'll be back by the Royal Rumble anyway. Unless, she really got caught a lot of hell over that thing, which, she did. But ultimately, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that but let's talk about the Matt Bloom, Shawn Michaels thing. The idea that Matt Bloom became aware. He's a coach. He became aware of this stuff. Specifically, the video where she's playing with her pussy. That's the one thing that took my head. That fucked me up because I wasn't expecting that. For those of you who didn't see it, I will give a description of what occurred, because it's not as bad as I made it sound. And I didn't realize until I listened to the video myself how bad I made it sound. What it is Mandy is wearing like a vest. She's wearing like a vest, and it's probably sticky tape over her nipples or whatever. And she's wearing white panties. And she just takes her hand, slides her hand into her panties, and just kind of like 2 rubs of her pussy, and then took her hand out. That was about it. It wasn't like camera was deep in there. She was fingering herself and orgasm and everything. It was just she slid her hands down in her panties and rubbed her pussy twice, and then took her hand out, and that was it. But that's a lot. That's not lingerie. That's not bikinis. She's masturbating. If not, not to climax, but she's masturbating in these fucking videos. She's taking, sexually situations in the shower with her boyfriend. It's weird stuff that's for her to post online. It was way over the top. Way over the top. You said you've only seen the pool vid of Mandy. Is that the one where she was topless in the pool? And but that, you could always say that was an accident. Her titties pop out or whatever. Like, there's one picture of her nipple popping out, but you could say that was a mistake. Like, she thought she had covered it up. They took the picture and her nipple was out, and she posted it anyway. And she probably just didn't pay it any attention. But it also might have been a thing where it was done on purpose. But yeah, I think I've said everything I wanted to say about Mandy Rose. So again, I'm leaning on you guys on this one. Um, yeah, her site is going to still be up. Why would anybody think that she's going to take her site down? Why would you? Why would she? At this point, she's already lost her job. She now needs it more than ever. Shit. There are so many female wrestlers who have like OnlyFans accounts and different things like this that it's almost, you know, it was ridiculous to me. Like both members of the Iconics have an OnlyFans, or they have their own website, some subscription service or whatever. Lana has one. Emma had one. She had an OnlyFans and a subscription service or whatever. There's just every female wrestler has it. Even the married ones, the single ones, the good ones, the bad ones, the fat ones, the ugly ones, all of them have OnlyFans accounts. Allison Kay does cosplay of like Peg Bundy on OnlyFans. All of them do it now. That's the direction that the business is going in. The girls are going to get into the business, you know, take a couple of bumps so that they can be seen, and then they're going to get in front of a camera, start taking pictures. Simps are going to go be like, mommy, 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 and then they're going to start up a subscription service and start raking in the dough. So it's very weird. Very, very weird. And it's quite sad, if we're being honest, you know, because these women are becoming what everybody said before. Remember when they did the Diva search and all that kind of stuff, they used to complain that these women were only getting into the business so that they could become models and do Playboy and be on TV and be TV stars and X, Y, and Z. That was the big deal, remember? You probably, if you guys are younger, you might not remember that, but that was one of the things that the old heads would always say. Oh, what the fuck does Candice Michelle know about wrestling? She doesn't know anything about wrestling. Why does she just wants to be on TV. She just wants to be a TV star. You know, the Bella Twins, they just want to be TV stars. You know, they just want to go on TV and get naked and become TV stars or whatever. And now, these chicks are utilizing the fact that they're TV stars to start up OnlyFans accounts or paid subscription services. And people are like, oh, that's their right. They can do whatever they want. I'm just like, okay. It was always the case that they could do whatever they wanted. But now it seems people are far more open with the old diva search idea of you can use WWE to get television time and to get whatever you want out of the business, you know, and how dare they decide that, you know, you can't profit off them anymore. I don't know. But there's plenty of hot chicks in NXT and the Performance Center. Plenty of them. And I'm seeing more every day. I just saw some new caked up young lady. She was a white girl. I'm like, what is they getting all these thick white girls from? Where are they finding them? Is it like a mine or something? Is Triple H or John Laurinaitis, where he's spending his time, you know, covered in soot in a mine, chipping away at the walls until thick white girls fell out of the goddamn roof or something like that? Like, what's all this stuff? Where all these people come from? Nikita Lyons at least was on TV already. You know, she was already on TV. She was doing WOW. But everybody else is kind of like, where did you get this girl from? And they end up they're soccer players, basketball players, gymnasts, you know, skiers or whatever. You're like, what? And underneath all of that is all of this, you know. Jordan Grace is, you know, exceptionally disgusting because she used to do like basically apartment wrestling, where she would do like the stuff that they were shaming Teddy Hart for doing in the documentary. Team Vision Dojo was doing customized matches, and it's Teddy Trouble punching people in the nuts and choking them and stuff. Basically, that's the shit Jordan Grace was doing. You know, she was doing abuse angles and stuff where she, like, I don't know if it was Jonathan Gresham. I think it might have been another black dude she was dating at the time, where he was just doing moves to her, like slamming her and choking her and stuff like that, and they were doing it like on a paid service. It's back when she was chunkier, so it's certainly before she was married. So I don't know if the guy, because he was wearing a mask, I don't know if that guy was Jonathan Gresham. He looked like he wasn't, because he looked like he was actually shaped like an adult man. But it's an interesting thing how long these chicks have been doing this. And that was the bane of the diva search, is that these chicks just want to get on TV and be models and be in calendars, and they don't care about wrestling. And now it's doubling back that a lot of these chicks just want to be models, OnlyFans, and all that kind of stuff, and then wrestle on the side. You know, the Tony Storm business model. I'm a model, but I also wrestle once a week, sometimes. You know, unlike the alley catch, which is I wrestle every weekend, but nobody ever watches me because I got a body like cottage cheese. Ooh. Please don't let me do this kind of stuff. I need to stop it. Stop it. Stop. Don't feed into my bad behaviors. When we talking like Allie Catch, just seems like she's a nice young lady. I saw her at GCW. She was very nice. I didn't talk to her that long, but she was very nice, man. She's very cool. She seems very down to earth. Very, very down to earth. The Diva search. Here's the thing. I would be okay with them bringing back the Diva search if they specify that is for managers, commentators, and other women who are not going to be in the ring. If you want to bring back the Diva search for women who are not going to be in the ring, but are going to be in other realms of the business, they're going to be ring announcers, microphone holders, camera girls, or whatever, referees. Okay. But if they're going to be wrestlers, probably not. Probably not a good idea. You know? But when it's the Diva search, you can always get like a beauty, somebody who's used to doing commercials or whatever, you know, she did a beauty pageant. You can get her to do, you know, the announcing and stuff like that. And some of them are really good. Like the girls they got doing the ring announcing today, like Samantha Irvin, she's really good. Alicia Taylor is really good. Or is it Tyler? Taylor, I think. She's really good. But, you know, maybe they want a female play-by-play. You know, you need to find somebody who's interested in wrestling who looks good. You know, I'm at the point where I'm almost like, hey, bring in the girls, man. Kevin Patrick fucking sucks. I'm tired of hearing about that bloke. I'm tired of hearing about that fucking bloke. Alley Cat's just thick, no face. Oh, she's thick, all right. She's thick in a way of she probably works out twice a week. That was about it. WWE has managers, they just don't use them. People are against the Diva search. Hopefully, TN Pyro says, hopefully Sonya takes over Toxic Attraction. I don't think that she fits the gimmick. I think that, you know, Toxic Attraction as a character was molded around somebody who's like Mandy Rose. I don't think it works without Mandy. It can work with just the two of those girls, and maybe you could add a third. Like maybe you could add Cora Jade to the group, but then that's just three, you know, girls who are essentially all the same skill level, thereabouts. Even though we know Gigi Dolan's been around much longer in terms of her area of the independents, but when you look at Gigi Dolan wrestle, you can't really tell that she was on the independents all that time. So you can add some girls to Toxic Attraction, but I don't think you don't have another Mandy. You know, the gimmick just fit Mandy like a fucking glove. You know, but you got a great tag team regardless. I think it's an opportunity for Gigi, to be quite honest. If they don't want to bring back Mandy, then push Gigi as a single star. You know, with JC Jane in her corner. I still think JC Jane is the better of the two. But you know, you might want to go with the person who's got a little bit more in-ring experience. That would be Gigi. And if you want to push her as a single star, I would be okay with that. And if that's what it takes to, you know, to get Gigi to get that push, I'm okay with it. And I think they should have been pushing them as single stars anyway. Like they can have single and solo feuds even as a tag team. And I think Mandy being ousted can give them the opportunity to change up Toxic Attraction a little bit. You know, Now it's time to see what JC and Gigi can do on their own. You know, they can't hide behind Mandy anymore. So, Bishop Marley said these white girls been had cake. They're just getting a lot more spotlight now. You know what? That's true, because it used to be considered fat. You know, when you were a thick white girl, they used to say you was fat. So they make it like they did with Toni Storm in WWE. Like, God, she was so well proportioned. I mean, her thigh. It all started like after the knees. Like, she was petite white girl up to the knees, and then as soon as you get them thighs, you're like, whoo, buddy. And them thighs all the way up to that butt cheek. You like, Jesus H, where did she get all this? And then she went to WWE, and Vince was like, you know, she's fat. She's not fat, for fuck's sake, Vince. Come on, man. You know, cut her some slack, please. So it's pretty wild. What was my finest memory of the Diva search? I have no fine memories of the Diva search. It was a bad era. It was a bad time, man. Top Dog said this should be a hint to WWE that we want to see hot women on TV. Yes, I think they always know that, but they can't deliver it, you know, because they don't want to be, you know, pretty privileged. You know, somebody looks good, therefore they get more opportunities. That's why so many people don't understand about Shayna Baszler. They're like, oh, Shayna Baszler's the best wrestler, but she's 40 and she looks like a boot, so she'll never get the shot. Bishop Marley says wrestling nerds are the target audience for some OnlyFans simps. Yeah. Oh yeah, they number one. Been getting it. Says selling sex with your clothing is totally different than visual depictions of sex. That I agree with that. You know, Mandy Rose took a picture, the Shawn Michaels Playgirl picture, that she took it with the belts and everything. And most people tried to use that as a WWE is being hypocritical because they're selling her body. And I say, well, they did not fire her because she was taking pictures of her clothes on. That's not what they did not fire her for taking pictures while she had clothes on. They not just say, well, in this lingerie picture you're wearing black, and this one you're wearing red, and we said you can't wear red, so you're fired. That's not what happened here. Again, there were pictures of her sitting on her man's junk. Okay, there was pictures of them in the shower, her kind of bent over at his penis area. You know, was it full frontal, you know, like page or anything like that? No, because it was not embarrassing. It was supposed to be tasteful in some ways, but it wasn't. You know, it wasn't full blown porn, but it was certainly more than what she was doing on TV. It was certainly more than what you would see on Instagram. It's certainly more than you would see on normal Instagram models. Was it full-fledged porn? No, it wasn't. Was it near that edge? I would say yes. I would say it would be Cinemax softcore porn. But the difference is she wasn't topless in any of those pictures. She was covered up. Like, she would have an arm to cover up her breasts or something like that. Maybe somebody's hands would cover up her breasts or something. She would often not be wearing underwear, but she wouldn't, like, you wouldn't be able to see anything. It was nude pictures, but they weren't, like, tastefully done. They were done with, like, a camera phone. You know, like, I did see so many people say, like, you know, these are stupid pictures done with a camera phone. Like, yeah, you know, they weren't, like, professional photography pictures. They were fucking camera phone pictures. For Christ's sake, brother. It's hilarious. It's stupid. I want people to recognize that, though, that it wasn't just a normal thing. The TLD, Bully Ray said he can get Mandy a job at Impact. I LOL'd when I read that. Like, oh yeah, it's not the rub you think it is, Bully. Fuck, I can get a job at Impact if I wanted it. You know, with a stick of bubble gum and a $10 bill, I can buy fucking Impact. Are you kidding me? My 401k got more money than Impact. I can have fucking Impact matches on my front lawn, and I'm broke. I live in Detroit. You can't be kidding me. Mandy makes so much. If she wants to fucking wrestle, why would she do it in Impact? No. Heavens to Betsy, no. She wants to do things for money. She had a WWE contract and was still doing that stuff. Imagine if she's working at Impact. She'd have to hang from the chandelier and suck a dick in order to make some money. She had to twist from the ceiling fan or something like that in order to make a goddamn living. There's no way. Impact? Bitch, please. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. I heard she was also posting people's dick pictures and rating them too. I don't know. It was very weird. Top Dog says, I know Mongo can't wait till that fine ass soccer girl comes up. Man, oh boy, you know I can't wait. I need to see it in motion. I gotta see it in motion. There's a video of her showing off sex toys. Mandy has sex toys and was showing. See, I didn't even get all of that stuff. Alto Johnson says, I worry about some of these women with some of these simps going to their wrestling shows and they will be chanting, show your tits. Yeah, and then they'll claim that it's misogyny and all that kind of stuff. They're going to feed into it with all the guys going to be saying, show your tits. Or guys trying to stalk them, showing up at their house. Like, that's another thing that I thought was very strange. Like, Mandy Rose was in the middle of that whole thing with Sonya Deville. And that guy just popped up at Sonya's house because he was obsessed with her. She is like, oh yeah, give me $400 for this picture. That guy's going to become fucking looking for you. Like, the dude who sent Amaranth, like, what was it, $70,000? Like, he found out a way to send her boatloads of cash. That guy clearly has money. If he wants to find her, he can. All right? That shit would creep me the fuck out. You know? That's when I started saying, and I think I stole it from that thread, that women live life on easy mode. You know, all she had to do was cry on camera and some simp sent her $70,000 in cash. That's crazy. I wouldn't even accepted that. Because I just said, this motherfucker got a tracking device in his money. There's no way. You know, I wouldn't want that at all. Eric Mack doesn't care about the POG shit. I just care about work rate and promo skills. What a dork. Do it. Get yourself together, Eric Mack. Stop being a dork. Even though I know you're being sarcastic. Mandy would have been a perfect call-up along with Toxic Attraction. Now she's gone. I think she's going to be back. Come on. Firings aren't permanent in WWE. Everybody just needs a break. Everybody gets fired eventually. Everybody except the top guys get fired eventually. I'm surprised Randy Orton avoided getting fired. You know, Jesus Christ. Top Dog says, do I think Cora Jade is hot? I think she's just as cute as Sky Blue. Certainly they're too young for me. They look very young. If she was 22, but she looked a little bit older, kind of like Nikita Lyons. Like, Nikita Lyons is in her early 20s, but she can pull off being 28 or 29. She has a mature look. Yeah, that would be perfect. But Cora Jade is like 22 and looks 22. She looks like a teenager, actually. And that don't work for me. Supermania wondering wild, brother. What you gonna do when I show up at your house and spy on you? What you gonna do when I'm peeking through your window? When I show up at the PC with flowers and chocolates. You know, I start writing you love letters like Stan. Mrs. Too Good to Call and Write My Fans. Yeah, definitely Divas Era 2.0. It's the shits. Man, I can't wait for that soccer girl to pop up on TV. I literally cannot. I'll try to memorize her name and I forgot it already. Simpomania, bro. The red and yellow attack. Jesus, that's gross. That's fucking gross. All right. All right. Wait a minute. I think I saw something interesting. Um, the simping in Saudi Arabia literally allow women to wrestle there and go against their religion. God doesn't stop feminism. You know that. I've been trying to tell people that for a long time now. You know, not even God can stop feminism at this point. Feminism all up in the churches. Feminism all up in everything. I remember talking to a guy, and he was talking about female pastors. And I'm not even like a Christian guy or anything like that. And he was like, "Come on, man, we gotta move past that stuff, man." I'm like, "Man, do you believe in the Bible or not? Shit, do you believe what the books say or not, my guy? You know, get it together, bro." Anyway, Triple H underwhelmed by talent he rehired since taking over WWE Creative. Oh boy, this is from Ringside News. It says, quote, WWE has become a completely different entity ever since former CEO and chairman Vince McMahon decided to take a voluntary retirement amidst various hushed money and sexual allegation scandals. While the television programming and development of stars has been significant, there has been a new report that says otherwise. Vince McMahon became a pioneer, blah, 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 blah. However, according to a report by Russell Votes on Twitter, some of those stars brought back during the rehiring wave have underperformed since their return and have not matched up to Triple H's expectations. Well, if I'd have known that the source was Russell Votes, I certainly would not have done this. I'm not gonna hold you up. If I'd have known Russell Votes was involved with this, I'd have said, "Fuck this. Let's not talk about it." But let's get it. Let's say that it's true. Again, let's go off the whole. It's probably true. So Russell Votes says, quote, "I'm told a handful of talent brought back in the, quote, rehiring wave over the summer have underperformed and severely underwhelmed Triple H and others since returning to the company. Triple H has been widely praised for his strategies, blah, 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 blah. However, with the recent report, it seems like some of the rehired superstars might be on their way out once again due to failing to deliver on the game's expectations." All right. Who do you think they're talking about here? I want everybody to give me at least one person that they think that this thing is about. After you guys say what you think it's about, I will say what I think it's about. But I want you guys to go first. Plus, I'm distracted by something right now, and I'll never be distracted during streams. But hey, I'm a cat with a piece of yarn right now, and that's almost always the case. So, you guys, what do you think Triple H is upset about? Oh boy. Shit row. Oh, I think you nailed it. On the first try. Shit row. Shit row. Oh, God. Ugh. Hit row is like one of the worst. Hit row is one of the worst, like legit. Like, no. Oh, come on. You know he loves Kevin Owens. He'll never say anything negative about Kevin Owens. He loves Johnny Gargano too. Mia Yim hasn't been there that long, but I'm disappointed in Mia Yim. I was disappointed in Mia Yim when she was in NXT. Tegan Knox, she's been on the TV for 2 weeks. But I definitely think that Damage Control, the reaction to Damage Control probably is one of the things that Triple H probably talks a lot about in his sleep. Like, why aren't they over? I think he probably, talks to Stephanie about it. Like, what the fuck am I going to do? I can't just fire these people I just rehired. I can't fire them. What am I going to do with them? That guy from Hit Row, talk about Top Dollar. Top Dollar talks a lot. For a guy with knees like that, he talks way too much. I mean, he's big as hell. His knees look like, shoestrings. What the fuck is up with his knees? He got skinny legs too. It's very, very, very weird. Been getting it. Asked me if MLW has been good lately. The Richard Holiday Hammerstone match was good. Speaking of which, Richard Holiday has like some form of cancer. That sucks. It really does. Richard Holiday is an uncut gem. He is so good. And that was the good thing about the Dynasty in MLW. It was MJF and Richard Holiday and Hammerstone. All three of those guys could be top guys. All three of them are very good. Dexter Lumis. Well, Dexter Lumis. How would Dexter Lumis be underwhelming? That's what I want to know. How would Dexter Lumis underwhelm you? Look, Damage Control and Shit Row are the top two on my list. Most other people haven't even gotten an opportunity. Tegan Knox hasn't been there that long. Emma has only had 3 matches. Literally. Braun Strowman is, delivering. He's not been utilized as much. But when he is utilized, he usually does pretty big numbers. Bray Wyatt did huge numbers. He may be underperforming to the certain sections of the audience who don't like him anyway, because they want him to blow them away and all that kind of stuff. But no, I don't think Bray Wyatt is underperformed. Johnny Gargano, hard to tell. Hard to tell what the expectations were for him. Same thing for Candice LeRae. Hard to tell what the expectations were for her. Mia Yim, she was brought in specifically to wrestle Rhea Ripley. They got one match out of the deal, and now Mia Yim is just a carry-on case for AJ Styles. Oh, Eric Mack forgot Braun Strowman even came back. Yeah, because he lost to fucking Ricochet. So, Omos couldn't beat him, but Ricochet, oh God, the almighty shooting star press, for Christ's sake, whatever. I'm sorry, it was a crucifix. Stupid. What was the expectation for somebody like Emma? I like Emma. I've always liked Emma. They just haven't done anything with her. Like, how many of these people, honestly, can be disappointing if you've never done anything with them? You never gave Emma really anything out of the box, so how could you be disappointed? How could you really be disappointed in somebody if you never did anything with them? What can you really be disappointed about? That's why I think it has to be people he really pushed. It would have to be Hit Row, who he made a big deal out of and gave multiple opportunities. And it would have to be Damage Control, which he's had on both brands and been pushing very heavily. That has to be it. Who else could it be? Like, who else was brought back that I could see being a disappointment? I don't know. I don't want Ty Dillinger anywhere near WWE. I don't want Ty Dillinger anywhere near a wrestling ring. Ty Dillinger is one of the most useless, pathetic, worthless sacks of shit in the entire business. Sarah Logan is just there as a manager, B. She ain't been disappointed. Her team sucks because the Viking Raiders have always sucked. Oh, they had good matches when they were in Ring of Honor. Like, I don't care, bro. Nobody gives a shit about that. It happened in front of 200 people. Nobody gives a fuck. All right. The Good Brothers. I can see how the Good Brothers might be disappointing. Looking at the responses, yeah, Hit Row seems to be like the number one guess is that Hit Row has absolutely sucked. And most people don't like Top Dollar as a person, so they're very readily just saying Hit Row sucks. I don't know. Tegan Knox has been there for 2 weeks. Why are we saying Tegan Knox? She's been there for 2 weeks. Even look, I dislike Tegan Knox with every fiber of my being, but even I'm saying give her more time. For Christ's sake, y'all got me taking up for Tegan Knox. I'm about ready to go brush my teeth or something like that. I got my teeth acting fucked up. My mouth not even working right. I'm taking up a Tegan Knox. A third right wing says Emma should be a comedy character that does dumb stuff. She's not a good promo or actress, but she can be silly and can wrestle. She's a baddie too. The problem is, I think Triple H brought all of these people back with no plan. He just started bringing people back. It was the same thing they did with NXT. They just started bringing in people, feed them to Braun, and then that was it. What's the next plan? don't know. Moving on. You know, like, but we're going to have them in the mix. It's like, no, you're not. He could have brought back all of these women in the Royal Rumble at one time, and it would have the same impact as bringing them in once every week or two, and nothing comes of it. So I can't tell you. Eric Mack, you're not missing anything. Hit Row used to be fun. Now Hit Row is the doldrums. I hate to say it, but it was probably all Swerve. I hate to put it that way, but Swerve was the reason that thing was working, I guess. Leon Ruff. Remember Leon Ruff? What about Leon Ruff? Wasn't he in AEW for a short spell before he changed his name to like Leon Ruffin? And then he's gone. Kevin Abreu, do you think every return need a video package because 90% of WWE fans don't watch NXT? I definitely think that most of these returns should have had some type of hype video attached to it. You know, a sit down, a press conference. There's 100 different ways you could have done this. Like, you want to do one surprise where, like the Garganos, for instance, where they just randomly popped up on Raw. That was nice. But then you could have did something where, you know, Adam Pearce is like, yes, we've signed a new hot free agent or whatever. And then, you know, you do a press conference and it's a specific person or whatever. And they can talk about their lives. Basically do what they did with Brian Pillman. I love that. How many of you were alive when WWE signed Brian Pillman? They did the kayfabe press conference where Brian Pillman cried at the amount of money that he was going to be making from WWE. But I would have done that. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of the people that they brought back, none of them have been big stars. None of them are game changers. But that's what I would do. I would say, you know, SmackDown's going to have a huge press conference backstage, or Triple H is going to lead the press conference, or there's going to be a press conference on TV. And you bring all the Meltzers and whatevers, or Justin LaBar, whatever the fuck, and you bring them to the front of the stage, and then you introduce your new signee, and then you let them talk. That would be about it. But I would do something like that. I would do vignettes for some of them, countdowns for others, surprise entrances, storyline entrances, like the Mia Yim thing. I thought it was nice, where they said they found somebody to fight Rhea Ripley. Okay, cool. Now she came in. She's got a gimmick. She's with a kid. She doesn't really have a gimmick, but she has a side in a battle, and that's interesting at the very least. Too many people just popped up on TV, sight unseen. Nobody knows who the fuck they are, and they're just there. Just kind of like, hey, I'm here. Don't you remember me from 10 years ago? Like, no, we don't, actually. Go away. Everybody remember Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt because it was last year or 2 years ago. Come on. Everybody remembers fucking Emma. What the hell? Why would you? She wasn't even a huge big star. Like, yeah, Triple H is doing the exact same thing that Tony Khan did. But it's not, they come out there and save the babyface. It's basically, you just pop up. You know, pop up, win a match, disappear. It's dumb. Eric Young disappoints me, and he's not even on TV yet. I just want him to go away. I want him to not show up. I want Eric Young to trip. Every time he comes near a WWE locker room, he just trips and falls in the parking lot or something like that. And they decided he's not medically cleared. Until they say, fuck it, pal, you're out of here. You know? I just want him to repeatedly have flat tires and just not make it. I would love that. That would be great. Oh man. Yeah, Xia Li, Sonya Deville, Doudrop, they all disappeared, didn't they? Well, all of them vanished. Hell, even oh boy, it's a long story, bro. What a long story that is. Aaliyah disappeared. You know, so many people disappeared. Um, Louis Dangor of Give Me Sport continued along this Triple H has underwhelmed thing by saying, "This is a shame and will obviously lead to speculation about who the underwhelming talent are. Unfortunately, there was always a good chance this happened. You're bringing in close to 20 new names in the course of a few weeks. Standing out is always going to be tricky. My gut instinct is that one of the names, Triple H, is probably severely underwhelmed because of more than what he or she has done in the ring. Take that from what you will." So he's going to be underwhelmed by what they did outside the ring. I don't understand what that means. Are they not going to the gym? Are they not working out? Are they fat? Because that would be top dollar all day. What would it be? You know, I don't know. I don't get it. Like, we need more details, bro. This is a detailed, fact-free piece of business here. But I like the speculation because what is Triple H going to do? Is he going to admit that he fucked up? Just keep these people on the roster forever, and then what? Oh, Thick Boy is not back yet. See, here's the thing. I heard about Thick Boy stuff, and then I never saw him anywhere else. I heard that he finished up with New Japan, and then I started hearing, oh, he's coming back to WWE, and I've been sitting back waiting for him since. Contrary to popular belief, I dislike Thick Boy personally, not as a performer. I think as a performer, he's not that bad. Okay, he's got the right body type. He's got the right menacing aura. It's not real. He's a giant fucking panda bear, who's whiny and all that kind of stuff. And I don't like that. I don't like soft dudes, and he's a soft guy. That's why I call him Thick Boy, because they called him Thick Boy, and he ran with it. And he was an idiot for that. I don't know why he let them do that to him. Johnny Gargano doesn't resonate to a bulk of WWE's audience. He looks like a nerd at a Comic Con. Even worse, he looks like a guy who volunteers to work at the Comic Con for a fucking discount. That's what he looks like. Like one of those dweebs I used to see on the train. I want to push him in the mud. Do I remember Bull Dempsey? Yes, I do, actually. I don't remember what he looks like. I remember him being a fat guy, but I don't remember that much about him. Bull fit. That's when they tried to make him lose weight. Alto Johnson says Tony Khan should sign Thick Boy before Triple H does. And to do what with him? Job him out to Jungle Boy? Have fucking Darby Allin bounce off his stomach and land on his head or something like that? Like, what is he going to do? Tony Khan should be definitely trying to poach some of the guys that New Japan's got. Like, why he never even try to sign Jeff Cobb is beyond me. Why not? What, did he not want to break the bank for Jeff Cobb? Jeff Cobb is an incredible talent. He can't talk for shit, but incredible talent. Reminded me a lot of Samoa Joe when he was in Ring of Honor. I don't know. Sad but true. Eric Max says Gargano is literally the most cringiest wrestler in the world, even more so than Sammy Guevara and Wheeler Yuta. Oh no. You talk about cringe wrestlers? Wheeler Yuta's at the top of that fucking list. Jesus, no. Nothing he says is believable. Sammy doesn't look like a tough guy who can fight in any realm of he just doesn't look like a guy who could be in a fight ever. But Wheeler Yuta, oof. God, the guy look like a mentor in a math class. He sucks. Why would anybody take him seriously? Juan Orozco. If Mercedes goes to AEW as well, is she going to do what CM Clown did, which is give her everything only to complain? Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. Because she's miserable. It's never going to happen. But I'm willing to let it happen. I want to see it. I want to see how long she lasts. That's what I want to see. I want to see how long she lasts. Because she tries to talk that good game, like she just wants to help others and get others over, and she cares about the division, she cares about the girls and all that shit. In reality, she just all about herself. The same as CM Punk, it's always supposed to be about the boys. The more people talk about being altruistic, that's the more the selfish they are. That's the one thing I've noticed. The more people talk about how you should do something for others and how you should be forced to, or the least you could do is do this for other people, then the more and more likely they are to be a narcissist. Bret Hart is another one. Bret Hart did an interview recently talking about WWE should provide the boys with health care and all that kind of shit. Which, maybe they should. I don't know. That's a good question. It's a question that we should think of. But it was about Barry Windham. And Barry Windham, old. Like really old. Like 60-something. But, maybe WWE should, if they give you a Legends contract, put you in the Hall of Fame and that kind of stuff, maybe they should offer you some health benefits for that. Especially when you're too old to work, which is Barry Windham. He's too old to work. I think we should look at that. And I think that should be probably the people who are given some kind of health benefits by WWE is the people who are too old to work. Maybe grandfather them in somehow when they get a certain level, but they can't continue to wrestle. So somebody like Jerry Lawler, you wouldn't be paying his medical costs because he continues to wrestle. But since you can't wrestle, you're formally retired, you're telling WWE you'll never work again, they will start paying for your medical expenses to a degree. I think that's a good deal. If you ask me, it's be a good charity thing to do, but you can't work again. If you wrestle again, you're off the system and you can't get back on. That way guys who literally can't work anymore will have an opportunity to have some kind of increased quality of life. But then you will have to set a standard like who gets it, How long do you have to work in WWE before you get it? Do you have to be a certain kind of name? Do you have to be in the Hall of Fame or whatever? I don't know. That's just pitching ideas. I think Odyssey Jones being pushed as the new Mark Henry was immediate. I saw that shit immediately. I don't think Cain Velasquez wants to work in WWE anymore. I think Mexico, and plus I don't think he probably can't. The guy literally shot at some people in a moving vehicle. Even if he beat the case, I don't think WWE will touch that fucking guy with a 10-foot pole at this point. He's ruined his brand name. I think that eventually WWE would have done business with him again, but now it's over. Mexico's the only place he can fucking work because Mexico don't give a shit. You can do whatever you want. You can car bomb motherfuckers in Mexico and nobody will care. So this was from Jim Cornette. It's about Tony Khan being buddies with the boys. Here's the thing. If the guys can just willy-nilly say on Twitter or out in public, in front of God and everybody, Tony goes out and parties with all the guys, and they do this and that, and they stay up all night, and if you're in that clique, then you get preferential treatment. And if they're not getting preferential treatment, it's because they're not in that clique. You've established that the boss is staying up all night partying with the fucking guys. That's true. That's true. Should that be something that Tony Khan should be doing? Should he be friends with his talent? Some people don't see a problem with that. I'm not sure if I do see a problem with it. Vince used to. We know that other promoters kind of did it. They kind of party with the talent a little bit. So, I don't know. Aretha Franklin should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. You know what? Not a bad idea. Do they start putting in performers? Snoop Dogg is already in there, right? What about like Little Richard? People who sung America the Beautiful at WrestleMania. That would be... I think Aretha Franklin did it twice, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, maybe she should go in. I think Vince would be 100% behind that if it was brought to his attention. I think he would be 100% for that. But Tony Khan partying with the boys. This is obviously coming off the heels of, I believe it was the Colton or the Austin Gunn tweet where he said that Jungle Boy hangs out with the bosses and parties, and you know Sammy Guevara. He also invited Tony Khan to his wedding, and Sammy Guevara continues to get opportunities despite the fact that he fucking sucks. Cyndi Lauper should be in the WWE Hall of Fame, absolutely. I agree with that. She is very integral into the success of WWE. Why she's not already in, I don't know. I think maybe Vince is just waiting. You know, who knows? But she should definitely go in imminently. Maybe next time they're in New York, they should put in Cyndi Lauper. I don't know what would be the reason why she wouldn't be in there. That would be my question. You know, Tony Khan smoking weed with well, what's her name? Big Swole, drinking White Owl. What was they drinking? I was about to say White Owls, but that's not something you drink. What the fuck is that they were drinking? White Claws. They're drinking White Claw. You know, Tony Khan is creating cliques within his own backstage area. I'm not surprised. I think that it shouldn't be so obvious, but it is. And I think it's always been kind of obvious when the boss has favorites. You know, the boss should he never have favorites, or is it okay for the boss to have favorites? I don't know. You're the boss. You can make your own fucking decisions, right? Tony Khan is not drinking malt liquor. You got to be kidding me. He was smoking that booger sugar. I know that. I know what that about. I know for sure. That's what he's up to. But he's certainly not about to drink no malt liquor. He's not about to drink no goddamn Colt 45. You can forget it. What he's drinking? What's that shit? Natty Brew or something like that? Nutty Brew? He about to drink that shit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he ain't about to drink that crap. He probably, you know, they're sitting back there eating pizza and Natty Light. Oh, that's what it's called. No, Demolition was involved with a lawsuit in WWE for like, I don't know. How long that CTE lawsuit? It was like 3 or 4 years. Yeah, it's like 3 or 4 years now. They not. I think Triple H, if he's in control of the Hall of Fame now, which we don't know, but it sounds like he might be, he'll probably put them in without thinking about it. But I'm legitimately, that's the interesting thing to me, is what Triple H is going to do for the Royal Rumble and what he's going to do for Hall of Fame in WrestleMania. I'm really looking at those 3 things. If Triple H can make the Royal Rumble good, the Hall of Fame solid, and WrestleMania main events line up to what I think they should be, I will ultimately say that he did a good job. You know, but he's in the hole right now. Because I watch Monday Night Raw, and I'm telling you, so much damage control. Damage control needs damage control. Tanqueray, come on. Tony Khan is a rich guy. He's not drinking fucking Tanqueray. Your uncle hanging out outside the liquor store drinks Tanqueray. There's no way Tony Khan's going to touch that shit. Do I think Adam Cole is done? That's a good question. You know, because Adam Cole, there is absolutely no conversation at all of Adam Cole coming back. There's not even a rumor of Adam Cole coming back right now. So I can't tell you whether I think he's done or not. But the thing is, how bad was the fucking concussion? that it was in June and he's still not back. Like, that's, you could have damn near had a baby in the amount of time it took. You think he broke his neck? Adam Cole is a house husband. Way of the house husband. Oh, man. Yeah, he gets to play video games and hang out with his friends. So I'm pretty sure he's not going to be too upset. Top Dog said, since they're in Hollywood, why not induct Rock, John Cena, and Batista into the Hall of Fame? Well, you don't want to do all three of them at the same time. Batista technically is already in from 2020, but they postponed his award ceremony. The thing is, will he actually appear for the Hall of Fame? I think he would. If Triple H asks, I think he would. You know, he loves him some Triple H. But he can't be the headliner because he's already been, invited. It has to be somebody else. Mm-hmm. No, Triple H ain't. You think Vince McMahon wants to take orders from Triple H? You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. Vince is not about to take no fucking orders. Vince ain't took orders in 30 fucking years. There's no way it's about to happen. The last man to give Vince was fucking orders was his dad. That shit was in 1982. I ain't about to take no fucking orders from Triple H. You gotta be kidding me. Vince say fuck the government. What do you think he gonna say to his brother, his son-in-law? Tell the government to fuck off. Fucking investigators, he like, fuck off. Bob Costas. I'm not about to let no fucking guy tell him what to do. That was always gonna be his downfall anyway. He's, his greatest weakness was his greatest success, which is his pride. Sable doesn't want anything to do with wrestling. If he can manage to get Sable to do it, that would be interesting at the very least. But then you have the Brock problem. Because let's say Sable says yes and Brock says no. Then what? It's pretty much no, right? So, I don't think Harlem Heat. I think Harlem Heat is in the Hall of Fame already. I think Harlem Heat is already in. Sable would be a good choice, though. I think Sable would be a really good choice. Oh yeah, I forgot about the Vince McMahon documentary on Vice until Eric Mack mentioned Dark. Then I thought of Dark Side of the Ring. Then I thought, oh, Vince McMahon had a documentary. I heard it was trash. Did anybody watch it? Before we move on to another subject, did anybody watch the Vice documentary on Vince McMahon? I heard it was garbage and it was just a pastiche of stuff from Dark Side of the Ring, which, if you spent an hour of your life watching that, I feel bad for you. Yeah, it got like 90,000 viewers. Nobody watched it. I think more people watched TNA. I think more people watched Impact than watched that documentary. It's upsetting. I didn't watch it either. I thought about going back and watching it, but then when I heard that it was just stitched together pieces from Dark Side of the Ring, I was like, forget it. I'm not about to waste 2 hours of my life. Sabu, I think he's already said he wouldn't accept it if he offered a Hall of Fame induction. I don't think he said he would accept it. That's another thing to think about, though. Sometimes maybe WWE has asked people and they've said no. Ted Turner would be a good option. I think Vince and Ted Turner being on stage at the same time would be awesome. Maybe finally put some closure to that WWE, WCW thing, because both of them are not in power anymore. Ted Turner lost power of WCW just before it went out of business, and Vince has lost power of WWE. So maybe if you can get Ted Turner and Vince McMahon on that same stage at the same time, that would be a great moment. especially for us wrestling fans. That would be one of the few moments that we could think of where it would be pure magic. And if I could talk to Triple H, I would actually pitch that. Put Ted Turner in the Hall of Fame, and then have Vince come out to shake it, just to shake his hand, and bury the hatchet from 1980. What was that? 81 or 82 when they started beefing. I'm pretty sure Vince would probably go for it. It'd probably make good TV, and he'd be all down for that. I wouldn't put Vince in the Hall of Fame. It's not no. You don't do that. Don't do that. Let all this stuff blow over first. You know, WWE is not. They're not stupid. It's not staffed by idiots. Only an idiot would put Vince in the Hall of Fame right now. You know, he's far too hot. You wanna let this shit die down a little bit first. Maybe give it a year. He'll still be here. Some of these people you're thinking they're gonna die tomorrow. Vince ain't one of them. All right. Vince is gonna have a heart attack and come back stronger. No, I don't think so. Oh boy. Let's see. Let's move on real quick. Okay. So Bryan Danielson said something stupid. Let's be quick with this one. He said, well, as I said with Bryan Danielson, you can't tell if he's joking, if he's or if it's CTE. You know, like it's serious or CTE. You can't really tell. But he said this. I mean, he was talking to he did an interview with 6abc.com. He said there's a litany of differences between AEW and WWE, but I think this is one of the things that drew me to AEW and why I kind of wanted to come to AEW. It's that it's a wrestling first company. It's a wrestling company for wrestling fans. Sometimes WWE is just more based on general entertainment, where they want to reach as many people and casual viewers as possible. Where I think AEW is like, hey, if you love wrestling, here's this. But also, even if you're not a wrestling fan, we're putting on wrestling, and the wrestling itself is going to bring you in. If you were going to do a comparison, just watch the shows. You'll see that there's a lot more wrestling in the 2 hours of Dynamite than there's even in a 3-hour WWE Raw. Sometimes there's more wrestling on an AEW Dynamite show than there is in Raw and SmackDown combined. So there's one of these things that drew me to it, because as a fan, when I was in high school, everybody loved The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. They were my least favorite people because all they did was talk. I like the wrestlers. It's just a different style. I'm talking about Japan. Yeah, let's not talk about Japan. Who cares? He said he didn't like Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock because all they did was talk. Serious or CTE? What do you guys think? Is he serious? Or is this CTE talking? Which one is it? Because I'm pretty sure Danielson got a touch of it. He got a taste of that CTE for sure by now. I don't think he's joking. I think he's serious. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is sour. Fuck. He's a mark. Mm-hmm. That Japan stuff, dropping each other on their head, you gotta be an idiot to watch that shit and think it's funny and entertaining and cool. Danielson loves that shit though. I don't know, man. I didn't like Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock because I thought they were kind of over pushed. But even if you go back to it, you know, they were legitimately the best guys for the job. You know? They were fucking great. I'm going to put that on the screen so they can be publicly shamed. Not so I can read it. I'm not reading that shit. But I just want people to know these kind of creatures are among us. Well, that's absolutely true, Alto Johnson. Those guys drew more money than he ever did. And probably ever will. But he said they were his least favorite people to watch. I don't know, man. Danielson be on some other shit. You on some bullshit sometime, man. I think it's a CTE too, Jake. I think it's the CTE as well. But then again, man, you got these Meltzer guys out here. Guys who know who the fuck Jumbo Saruta is. I know who Jumbo Saruta is, but I don't have a favorite Jumbo Saruta match. That would mean committing those fucking matches to memory. I'm not about to do that. All the motherfucking matches look the same to me. I remember, you know, taking things back to the essence, I always had a thing for that. Boom bap rap, work rate wrestling. Always kind of like that stuff. Remember when on the kick watching Misawa versus Kenta Kobashi matches. Great matches, all of them. Couldn't tell one from the other though. I really couldn't. I legitimately couldn't tell one from the other. They were having really good matches. I really had fun watching them. But at the end, if you told me, yeah, I'm watching Kenta Kobashi versus Mitsuharu Misawa, I would say, oh, that's probably an awesome match. Just like we had this conversation like a couple of weeks ago about Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat, and I was trying to remember what tights Ricky Steamboat was wearing. That's the only way I could fucking remember those matches, man. But WWF, it's easy to remember those matches, not just because I watched them and lived them, but because the context and the stories changed. You know, even the performers and how they look may have changed. You know, like if you say watching Randy Orton versus John Cena, you know, the I Quit match, you know exactly where that came from. You know, the Last Man Standing match, you know where that came from. You know, the only way you would get lost is you would say they'd wrestle one-on-one in a regular match. You're like, okay, well, they did that a couple of times. You know, would it be Raw? Would it be SmackDown? Whatever. Brie Bella pussy is too short. You're saying it like it needs to be longer or taller. Like, why does it need to be taller? Bryan is just a work rate meathead. Oh, I'm sorry, work rate meth head. Worth ethic sports entertainment work rate matches. Well, yeah. I mean, Danielson has already been let it known where he lands on this whole thing. He's team work rate. That's what he is. He's a work rate guy. But he's out of his mind. Yeah, that's the thing about Danielson, and Eric Mack is actually now become worthy of conversation again. Says that he's so likable that people don't take his trolling seriously. Like, he's clearly just shit talking, right? He does that stuff all the time. He just comes out and just says weird stuff, and then just kind of goes back into the shadows. Like he talks about he coming to the locker room hard. He's not coming in there to be soft. So he's going to yell at people who are on their phones and stuff. I'm like, okay, in a certain context, that would be deranged. You know, like you're coming in there barking at everybody because they're on their phone. At the same time, though, it's Bryan Danielson. So you know like 90% of it is jokes. You know? So, especially after I watched that Dinner for Two, or the Dinner for Three, where he roasted Ryback, that shit was fucking hilarious. And the fact that Ryback got so upset that he basically walked out made it even funnier. You know, that shit was epic. That was one of the most epic troll jobs I've seen in person in a long time. I think Bryan Danielson was the kind of guy who would try to convince you that he drank his own pee and that it's nutritious, just to see if you would do it. You know, that's what I think. Top Dog says, do you think WWE should try to go more UFC? Not necessarily trying to do MMA moves, but take the edge and grittiness of the UFC. I don't think anybody wants that. I think people like pro wrestling or WWE for what it is. They just want more stars. You know, it's just, and you want stars. Fuck, that's the problem. The problem ain't the presentation. The problem is the fucking. There's no star power. You know, you've burned every angle that you could possibly do. You know, it's hard to get people to care anymore. It's hard to get attention in a world where everybody has super short attention spans. How are you going to get people to sit and watch 3 hours of a show? You know, WWE literally has set a guy on fire, and it didn't really pop the rating that much. What do you do? Hard to say, man. All right. 2 hours in, man, I'm tired. Maybe have to save that casual fan thing for later. All right. I think we went longer than I wanted to on the Sasha Banks part. But now I'm kind of blown up. I've been up since 5 o'clock. Never get a job, you have to get up at 5 o'clock. You need to work during respectable hours. Yes, if Triple H managed to fuck up Cody, that's Vince handed him a flaming ball from NBA Jam or something. Like, the ball is already on fire. All you gotta do is shoot it into the hoop. Like, all you gotta do is put it in the hoop. Let's see if Triple H doesn't decide to give it to Kevin Owens instead because he likes him more. If Tomohiro Ishii is in the Royal Rumble, I'll eat a hat. I don't just mean this year, I mean ever. Royal Rumble. WWE Royal Rumble. I think WWE needs to focus on young audience again. The main audience now is people that's like 40 now. Well, they already cater to the young audience, you know? And the young audience doesn't watch TV. They watch on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, etc., etc. And that's what, people like Disco Inferno and Vince Russo aren't listening to. More people are technically consuming Raw now than in their time. But they are looking at TV ratings as the only barometer of that when it's absolutely false. And I'm tired of talking about this because it doesn't make any sense. Every business has changed over time, and they think TV is supposed to stay static forever. It's like it's not. South Park doesn't get the ratings that it used to, but people still like South Park. South Park is still on the air, and nobody is talking about canceling South Park. South Park is one of the few things that's been on TV as long as WWE has, and The Simpsons is the other thing. Simpsons doesn't get the ratings that it used to. Nobody's talking about canceling The Simpsons. The thing is, you got to recognize that there are other ways of growing the business. Not everybody's going to sit in front of a television. Some people are definitely going to watch things on their tablets, their cell phone, or whatever. And you can't get that through the thick fucking skull of these guys who insist on only talking about one thing. Now, at that point, you're arguing. And you're having the kind of argument where you look stupid. Let them say whatever it is they're going to say. Disco Inferno was talking about the ratings for Raw this week, or last week, one of the two, about how he thinks Triple H is tanking the ratings on purpose. And I was like, he doesn't quite understand anything, get anything. He just kind of waits for he hates the show. He just kind of sits back and waits for the ratings and then says, I was right. Because, the ratings did this, this, and this. It's like, you don't even know what the fuck you're talking about, man. Like, I think one of the most viewed things in WWE's past month, outside of the Bray Wyatt stuff, was Dominic attacking Ray on Thanksgiving. Got like 7 million viewers or something like that. It was crazy. I think that was only from one source, like only from Facebook or something like that. It was like one source and they got like 7 million views. It was frightening how many people saw that. That's more people than watch some of those segments in the Attitude Era. You know? Why is it that Disco Inferno or Vince Russo would deny that people actually saw that segment? It's not a thing where, hey, unless you were watching television, you didn't see it. There are 100 other ways of seeing it. WWE will make sure you see it. I guarantee you that. That's their new superpower. You know, they can get some people to sit and watch 3 hours of show, 2 hours of show. But most people, they don't have to. So they don't. You know? I wish AEW could do the same. I agree with Top Dog. You know, ratings were for marketing bums. You know, it was for advertisers. What the ratings for a show was not important to people like us. It was important to the WWF to show to their advertisers what they could do. Then it became a ratings war when Eric Bischoff was going on TV talking about butts and seats and all that kind of stuff. It's ridiculous. I don't know if it's all over for AEW. I'm not gonna say that. I'm just gonna say that AEW is struggling. You know, do people care enough about their product? You know, and the best thing they can do is keep investing in it. Keep, you know, hopefully, I bet, you know, Tony Khan is probably, you know, very smartly trying to get fucking Mercedes on the phone. You know, the stand accounts would at least bump up their Facebook and YouTube and stuff. Stand accounts. The power of stands. Eric Mack made another good point. DVR and YouTube clips kill traditional wrestling watching. If I can record the product and skim through it, eventually I'll stop watching altogether. Well, that's not entirely true. But when I wasn't watching wrestling, I continued to follow it through the internet. There's plenty of wrestling fans right now who probably have not watched the show. Who, you know, maybe they go to work. Maybe they just don't, they watch something else. And then they'll go back on YouTube and watch the clips. They'll find excuse me, they'll find an illegal stream of it and skim through the show. You know? And it is what it is. You can't stop them from consuming wrestling that way. When big things happen, people see it how they see it. They see it on Facebook, they see it on Twitter, they see it on TikTok. That's it. They don't necessarily sit and watch all 3 hours of Raw. You know? There's that audience that doesn't exist anymore. There's very, very few people who are going to sit and watch it, you know, something all the way through. But games, you know, they used to have they still do have highlight shows for, you know, NBA and NFL, because sometimes people just want to watch the highlights and that's it. You don't watch the whole game. You also understand that a lot of these shows were not going head to head at the time in the 80s and stuff. So much of these shows were not going head to head. They had their own little time slot, their own little region, you know, and that was it. It's not tough, it's impossible. You can't capture. I mean, here's the thing. Here's how I put it. And I think this is probably one of the best ways to put it. And I really didn't think of it until now. How many of you like have been married or in love or whatever? If you are if you are in love with somebody, let's say a girl, you become infatuated with her. For the first couple of months, she's the greatest girl in the world. Her farts smell like roses. She's everything you ever wanted. 6 years into that relationship, is it the same way? 10 years in, is it the same way? Things change. She's not going to be young and beautiful anymore. She may still be a good-looking young lady, good-looking woman, but you're going to love her for different reasons at that point. She, the mother of your children. She took care of you when you were sick. She's been loyal and honest. She's defended you in fights and stood up for you or whatever. She gives you confidence. She does little things for you, buys you clothes, makes sure you eat. You're building a family around her. It's not just about her being hot and willing to give you some pussy at that point. When you have a long-term relationship, you're looking for something different than when you're looking at in a short-term relationship. There are people who have long-term relationships with sports and television shows and stuff like that. And there's people who still watch The Walking Dead up until the very last episode. Wouldn't be me, but there's people who did it. They had a long-term relationship with that show. The ups and the downs of the show. The ins and the outs of the show. The characters coming and going, the characters dying and being brought back or whatever the fuck. It was different. Their relationship to the show was different than mine. My relationship to the show was seeing the girl come out of the burning barn as a zombie. And I was like, oh no, that's so sad. Let's watch this. And I watched it from the beginning. And I quit. Right around the first Negan episode. But everybody has a different relationship with wrestling. Wrestling fans don't expect every fucking show to be some Attitude Era show with choppy your pee-pee, exorcisms, and a bunch of other wild dumb shit happening on the show. That doesn't mean that there should be a month after, of nothing. A month of nothing really happening. Which is kind of how wrestling is now, where, sometimes you'll go 2 months before anything actually happens. You'll have a pay-per-view, Raw, SmackDown, whatever, a bunch of good matches, but no really, like, super fire or anything happen. It's insane. A lot of people have a different relationship with wrestling. Very different. For somebody like me, I grew up with it. So, I'm sorry, I'm drinking water. It was my preferred choice of entertainment. Over movies, cartoons, TV shows, video games, etc. And I had bouts of going in and out. Like, I'm a person that I go to the extreme sometimes, When I was into wrestling, I was into wrestling. And that became pretty much everything. And then I stopped. I started playing video games a lot. Then I just had a ton of fucking video games. Then I got back into wrestling. And I started buying DVDs. I have a closet full of WWE. I got a couple of TNA DVDs, a couple of Ring of Honor DVDs, but DVDs became my thing. Then I stopped buying wrestling DVDs. I started buying comic books, manga, and stuff like that. And I have tons of that shit. I go through those kind of stages, these cycles. I never really get rid of anything. But I come more into things as I get older. I get more into other things. That's how wrestling is. When you're a fan, when you're a kid, you're into it. Then you become a teenager. You start hanging out with your friends. You guys start listening to music. You start sharing CDs. I got a big fucking thing full of CDs. East Coast rap, West Coast rap. I became really into rap, you know? And then you grow out of it. You go from there to something else, and you go from there to something else. You grow as a person. Those things stay a part of what you are, but you're just not living and breathing that stuff anymore. Wrestling is for an audience now that lives and breathes it. But there are still plenty of people who watch it and know the characters, know the people, know the situations or whatever. But maybe they keep it to themselves because it's supposed to be for kids, and so they don't want to talk about adults watching it. But to expect it to be what it was in 1998 is ridiculous. It's incredibly frustrating and real dumb, you know, because it goes to show that certain people are just stuck permanently in that era. That era is gone. People have a different relationship with wrestling now than they did then. They have a different relationship with TV than they did then. All right, here's the last question, and we're going to get up out of here. Do you think Vince McMahon is going to be at Raw 30th anniversary? I believe he should. I don't have my Pokemon cards anymore. I gave away my Pokemon cards. I have some more Pokemon cards that I've actually found. I literally found some Pokemon cards and just kept them. I don't know why. I still got them. But my actual Pokemon cards, I think I gave those away. But yeah, Vince being at Raw 30, he should be there. He should be at WrestleMania too. He should open WrestleMania. Welcome to WrestleMania! And then go back off screen. And that's it. He should come out for Raw 30th, wave to the crowd, maybe banter with somebody in the ring. You know, if they're feeling frisky, let them take an elbow drop or something like that, a super kick or something, and say goodbye to Mr. McMahon at WrestleMania. With him saying, "Welcome to WrestleMania," and then he becomes Stan Lee after that. You know, he pops up every once in a while. It's kindly old Uncle Vince. You know, in the backstage segment, he's standing there or whatever. I think that's the best way to utilize Vince at this point as an ambassador. You can't really use him in any other capacity, you know. But if you try to you could change his image by turning him into the kindly old grandpa that everybody wished that he was, you know. Put Vince in some segments with kids, explaining why, you know, he's not a bad guy. You know, that was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen with Stan Lee. Is when he sat down and explained to a kid why Dr. Doom isn't a villain. It was nonsense, of course, but you get to see that interaction between the young and the old in that way. It's fun, you know, because Stan Lee is imparting the true magic of Marvel onto this kid, and only Vince can really impart the magic of WWE to somebody, to explain it to them, because he created it. In this way, explain to them what it is. Now, unfortunately, no matter what he says, Triple H is going to put Candice LeRae in the fucking ring, so it's going to be different. But that's how you rehab Vince's image, you know. And I definitely think you should start with him being at Raw 30th anniversary. Then he pops up at WrestleMania. You know, maybe he's sitting in the crowd during a match or something like that, and he shakes the hand of the winner. Similar to what they do in AAA, where the owner's wife sits in the crowd and they come over and acknowledge her by shaking her hand or giving her a hug or whatever. You know, and Vince takes pictures with the new champion, takes pictures with the guy or whatever. But we know that he doesn't have any control. He's just basically a figurehead. You bring him out. He takes pictures, he shakes hands, you know, you treat him like the president. Then you shuffle him on to the back. I think that's the best way to handle it, you know. But that's the thing, You deal with cancel culture by making it seem like these people are just being overly sensitive and bitchy. Because unless he goes to prison, what are you going to do? You're going to say he was accused of all of this stuff. It's like, yeah, so what? I can accuse you of something right now. So what? There's going to be entire generations who are still, and it's a good way of changing everything. But also bridging the gap. Bridging the gap. A lot of people who are Vince loyalists. I'm not going to watch the WWE because Vince is gone. If you keep Vince in the rotation, they'll be less likely to be bitter about it. And those people are probably more likely to be real fans anyway. I hate to put it that way, but a lot of the people who are cancel culture people are not really WWE fans anyway. They're more fans of other companies, AEW, New Japan, whatever. Wrestling journalists and the like. Those people, they're not thinking about, helping anybody. They don't really care. If you do something fun with Vince, they'll remember that. I was just watching Vince do Stand Back. It's all over Twitter. Ridiculous as it was, the first Slammy Awards. You understand that these people who are almost 40 years old, some of them were children when that happened. Some of them weren't even born yet. And they're looking at Vince dance and sing and Stand Back, and they're laughing. And not out of laughing at him, but he knew he was silly. He knew it was silly when he was doing it. That's what they need to remind people that Vince McMahon is. To a degree. Like, he's a complicated person, that's like everybody else. He lived long enough for you to see every side of him. Why let it be that Wall Street Journal, Vice, and all those people get to decide how you remember Vince McMahon? I personally would not have Vince be central to anything, but he would be a cameo every once in a while to make something seem important and at big moments. Just like Marvel movies, where Stan Lee would have his part in them. I would make sure Vince is in a backstage segment or somewhere, or he gets to come on screen for some reason. He's sitting in the crowd somewhere. He can stand up, wave, and that's it. What are you going to do? You going to criticize that he stood up and waved? So what? Fuck you and your feelings. If Vince comes out with Kanye and Kyrie, I'm pretty sure Vince would probably, he probably loves Kanye West. Because Kanye West is crazy. I'm not going to say what platform it was. It was a Jewish platform. Kanye's a motherfucker for that one. All right. It's 11:30. 2 hours and 28 minutes. Thank you, everybody, for appearing to this show. Be sure to like the video, especially if you're still there. I'm looking at 25 views on here. So whether you're on Twitter or YouTube, if you're on Twitter listening to this, head over to YouTube, click this video, hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe. The next video, I'm not promising you anything, but it might be a Smart Tears from Mandy Rose, depending on what I have to do tomorrow. I have a meeting tomorrow. So it might come out on Saturday. So I may have to do in case you missed it. But Sunday, the live stream, the pop culture live stream, we're going to talk about the movie Megamind, which is something I didn't know existed until I was in Walmart digging through the DVD sets and saw Megamind. And I'm like, what is this? And I read the back of it. And I was like, you know what? I need to watch this. Nobody ever told me there was another superhero movie out there. Cartoon series or whatever. Cartoon movie. And so I watched that. So I'm going to give everybody a couple of days to watch Megamind with me. We're going to do a review because I've never seen it before, but I have seen it now. I've already written down my notes. So we're going to do a review of Megamind on Sunday for the live stream. We're also going to continue looking for other things. And I'll see some of you guys there. I know some of you are more into the wrestling thing. I always try to bring even the pop culture stuff back to wrestling. So hopefully you guys will tune in as well. Thanks everybody for your time. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.